Good morning and welcome to Old Man Energy. I'm your host, Flint Anderson, and pretty sure there's a warning before this episode because I'm not certain I can remain calm while talking about it. We are talking about dads today, and specifically you dads that have sons out there. Yeah, I'm talking to you sons too. There's a lot of value here for men, sons, daughters, for dads in general. Now, if there's ladies in here that happen to be listening to this, I'm going to apologize ahead of time. I'm not talking to you today, but maybe you find some use in here. I don't know. What I'm going to recommend you not do is send this to your husband or your boyfriend or your significant other and say, see, here's how you're supposed to be. Probably not going to end the way you want it to end. I have boys, I have girls. Specifically going to be talking about how we raise our sons in this episode. There's a lot to be said out there and a lot that needs to be talked about. So much confusion in the world right now, and there's so many weak fathers out there, and as a result we're creating weak sons. And I have addressed in other episodes the lack of fathers in the home. So if you are a father who has children and you're not active in their life, you know what, one, shame on you. You need to step up and go and do whatever you have to do. I don't care how much you have to fight and argue with your ex. Those children need you in their life, period. And unless you believe that and you act on it, well, then they're never going to get what they need from you. So if you created a child in this world, you need to go be a father to said child, period. They don't have to like you. You're not supposed to be their friend. You're supposed to be there and be their father and help raise them and take care of them. And you know what? If your ex is crazy or psycho or all the different things that you say about it, too bad for you. Maybe you shouldn't have gotten her pregnant in the first place. If you are active in your child's life, preferably if you are still in the home and you're raising a son who's coming into being a teenager, you've got some sons out there that are young men. Society today is confusing the shit out of our children, specifically out of our sons, because they are male, they are masculine, they are aggressive by nature, and we are telling them that they are wrong. Society itself is telling them that they shouldn't be that way, that they should feel bad about that instead of embrace it and learn how to control it. The only people that are going to teach our sons how to be strong men, how to be good men without being tyrants, and I've addressed that in previous episodes a long time ago, is us as fathers. How the hell do we do that? Well, the thing is, you have to accept one thing. Your son is not weak. You're just leading him wrong. I'm going to repeat that. Your son is not weak. You're leading him wrong. Society teaches our sons to give up, to lay down, accept what they're given, accept what they're told. Sound familiar? Any of it. Just be a weak man, be a doormat, whatever it is, whatever description you want to use. But if your son quits the second life starts getting hard, and no matter what it is for hard, it's not his fault. It's your lack of leadership. It's your fault, Dad. Yeah, that doesn't sit well, and I hope that pisses you off, because if it does, you're the exact person that I need to be talking to. You need to do better. You need to be a better father to these young men. You need to be a better mentor, and you need to be a better leader. Your job as a father, especially as a father of young men, is not to be liked. It is to make sure that your son can survive in a world that doesn't give a shit about him and you no longer exist in to step in and help. That's what you're preparing these young men for. That's the reality of it. And if you weren't prepared for it, oh fucking well. Too bad. So sad. You decided to have a child. Now you got to fucking figure it out. And I don't have any patience for men that want to make excuses as to why they're a bad father. Figure it out. Get out there and screw some shit up until you figure it out. If you don't know what you're doing, find a mentor, find a men's group, find somebody that you trust that you can ask questions to, but don't give up on your children, because your children are doing the best that they can to figure it out. And they have to try and do this every single day. And without your leadership, without your direction, without somebody to look up to where they know that there's acceptance even in the heart and even in the face of challenge and being pushed, where they know that they're accepted and that they're loved, where the hell are they going to go to get this advice? They're going to go out there and they're going to turn out to be a freaking pussy. They're going to be a sissy who doesn't take care of their family, and the whole generational curse starts all over again. If you have children, if you have sons specifically, you have to break that cycle. And you know what? If you had a great dad, then chime in here in the comments and give us some of the tips that your dad did to help you grow and help raise you as a child and help you become a better man and a better dad. Because there's a lot of young men out there that want to be good dads, good husbands, good fathers, and good leaders, and they have no idea how. And there's a lot of dads out there that are screwing it up because they're trying to be friends with their kids. We have a problem right now, and that we're raising boys in a culture that avoids pressure. It avoids correction, and they're calling it love. That is not love. Gentle parenting is bullshit and is not an effective way to raise a child in today's society. It does not work. And we're getting confused as to why our sons can't handle the slightest little pressure. It makes them want to shut down and just give up. There's no confusion out there. It's because you're trying to be friends with your kid. You're trying not to hurt their feelings. You know what? Life doesn't give a rip one way or the other about your child's feelings, about your son's feelings. If you haven't figured it out, it doesn't give a shit about your feelings either. Think about that for a minute. You're not preparing these men to go out there. You're preparing them that everything is going to be okay and it'll be fine. It'll all be sunshine and roses and teddy bears and soft pillows. And when you fall down, you don't have to get back up again. You can just lay down there and be pathetic and a loser for a little bit longer. Life doesn't give a shit about that. Life punishes you. And they're in for a rude awakening that they're going to get whether you prepare them for it or not. At least if you prepare them for it, they won't be so desperate for a solution that they don't have the tools or the equipment to figure out how to do because you failed as a father and didn't do what you were supposed to do to raise these men to be self-capable, fulfilling adults so that they could go on and be good fathers and good leaders. And if you didn't have a good dad, I don't want to hear it. I don't. That's not an excuse. You could have not had children. That would have been one way to break the cycle. But since you chose to have children, if you didn't have a good dad, you already know what not to do. Just do the opposite. Start there. And then find somebody who will mentor you and who will help you to be a good father. There are many, many resources out there, not the least of which I've got several that I can provide and help you with as well. Let me make this very, very simple. You are either raising your boys to be comfortable or you are raising them to be capable. You cannot do both. Comfort is killing masculinity in today's society. If you would rather sit in a comfortable chair and play video games for hours while your son sits beside you or in his room playing video game for hours, instead of getting out there and doing hard shit, you're setting a bad example for your boys. Don't do it. Get out there and let them see you struggle. Let them see you do hard things. Let them see you attack life's problems instead of sitting back on the couch, eating Doritos and pizza and waiting for life to happen to you. Get out there and happen to life and show them how to do the same thing. This is the only way that they will learn while you're still there to provide a safety net in some direction for them. This doesn't mean to push them and kick them and beat your sons up. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about pushing them past the point they want to be pushed sometimes. I did this to my boys growing up and I was not good at it. The only way you get good at it is you do it a lot. But I was consistent. I always had their best interest at heart, integrity, understanding that I was preparing them for a life that they were going to have to live and be forced to live, whether they chose it or not. And they were going to have to figure it out without me there. That is, and bears repeating, that is what we're preparing them for. A good dad is a man who is quick to love. You can be honest in your correction with your sons and strong in your character and integrity. And if you start with these fundamental values, then your correction and your leadership and your guidance for these young men will be on point. You may not do everything perfectly correct, but you don't have to do everything perfectly correctly. You have to try and you have to give them the environment in which they can be pushed. They are not allowed to give up. They can fail. They can get back up while you have the safety net there and are able to love and comfort them as they need it. You have to be willing to let your children, specifically your boys, struggle and fail. And you need to do that while you're still here and able and capable of helping them out so that they can figure it out. You don't step in and solve the problem for them. You give them the tools. You force them to solve it for themselves. You're not here to fix their problems for them. And this is one of the things that I failed at as a father for a long time until I figured it out, is I wanted to fix everything. I didn't want my kids to struggle. I didn't want them to have that hopeless feeling. I didn't want them to have that desperation that I grew up with through my childhood and my circumstances. I didn't want them to suffer like that. And so I attempted through everything I could do to make that not happen. And it didn't work. A lot of them weren't prepared. So they were into their adult years, their young adult years, when I finally started teaching them and realizing what was wrong. And the younger ones were resentful at that point. But you know what? That's okay. You can start over. You can explain it to them, be honest with them what's going on, and go from there. But you don't fix it. You don't remove their struggle. You don't remove their challenge. And you don't soften it. You just help them figure it out. But it takes a lot of guts and it takes a lot of backbone and it takes some pretty big balls to sit there and watch your child, your son specifically, suffering and struggling and let them do it. When I was younger, I used to say that I don't believe in reaching out and helping pick up a man when he's fallen down and he's laying in the mud. I believe in stepping on him and pushing his face back down in it because it pisses him off and it makes him get up and he's stronger for it. I use that analogy because that's what happened to me virtually. Well, virtually and physically, and to some case. Instead of breaking me and making me lay down and give up, which, there's times that we all are just so overwhelmed with life in general that we want to lay down and we can't handle what's going on and we just consider giving up. You can do this as a mental exercise and you can watch your children do it as a mental exercise too, even encourage them to do it because that is the real consequences if they don't stand up and get back on it and do what they needed to do. So, yes, you can acknowledge that, but you don't use that as an excuse. You definitely don't use that as a playbook for what you need to be doing. But here's what your sons and your kids in general are going to get from you, whether you like it or not. They're going to get truth. And this is what you owe them by simply existing as their father. They're going to get work ethic. They need to see you busting your ass to make sure that they're taken care of. They don't need some lazy, fat, gelatinous slob of a man sitting on the couch eating Doritos and candy and freaking pizza, playing video games and not doing a damn thing to take care of his family. That is no example for a man. Or for a young man, and there's no way for a man to be. And if I'm describing you, then you need to get the hell up and go do something about it because that is pathetic. And I hope somebody's told you that in the past, and I hope that pisses you off because you know what? You need to do better. You need to grow up and quit acting like a petulant child and go out there and be the man that your children need you to be, that your wife or your spouse needs you to be. Go figure it out. There's no tolerance for being a victim. You're not going to tolerate it out of your kids. Don't tolerate it out of yourself. And it's up to you for your sons and daughters to apply pressure when it's needed. Life is going to apply pressure in general whenever it happens. You can apply pressure when it's needed so that they can learn how to deal with it. You can turn it up, you can turn it down, but you need to apply it to teach them how to deal with it. And if your solution for dealing with pressure is avoidance, then you need to figure that the hell out first. Get out there and start attacking some of those things that are putting pressure on you. And last but most important is that you need to provide them with safety and love when they actually need protection or a reset. And if you're connected to your children, you're connected to your sons, you're going to understand the difference. And this is a fine line, this balance to walk and to understand. And you know what? You're probably going to screw it up sometimes. You don't want to push your boys to the point where you alienate them and you make them leave, but you have to push them to the point that they grow to be more than what they are. And there is no manual on where, okay, you got to turn the pressure up to 11 on this one, back it down to 8, turn it up to 12. Oh my God, too bad he ran away and he left me. No, there's no pressure. You have to determine that. And the only way to determine that is to communicate effectively with your children and with your son. This is a line that most of you will not hold because it's way easier to comfort than it is to correct. Don't be that guy. Don't be that guy who doesn't allow your children to struggle, who doesn't allow your young men to figure out and solve things for themselves. They will never grow into the man that they're capable of being. If you're always there solving things, both of them are equally as bad. You have to give them the ability to figure things out, the ability to fail, get back up, and go do what they need to do. They need to know that you're there and that underlying love and compassion is there for them in all things and all the time. But it is always easier to comfort than correct. And you have to correct through comfort and through love. And let me say this, if your son respects you, but he doesn't like you sometimes, you're doing it right. If he always likes you, you're avoiding having a conversation or avoiding teaching him something. You are not there to be his friend. You might become friends after a while, after they're adults. I'm friends with most of my adult sons, but it doesn't mean I stop being their father. It doesn't mean that I stop letting them off the hook whenever they're struggling. I still have to call them out on it, even when I don't fucking want to. It doesn't matter. Because I'm their dad, because I'm the only man alive who cares more about their success than they do until it's time for them to step up and take over. And you won't even know when that happens. You'll just look back one day and realize that naturally these young men have now become the alphas and become the fathers and become the leaders that they were born to be because you weren't their friend, because you were their dad, because you were their leader. And I didn't always do this correctly. I didn't understand the difference for a long time between comfort and love and overprotection and not enough protection. And this applies to all of my kids, but we're talking about sons specifically here. It took me a long time to learn that. I wish that I had reached out to somebody that I could have learned from, that I could have been a mentor from, somebody that I had respected that maybe could have helped me through that, because raising those 5 boys was challenging. You're not going to do it perfectly. Get prepared for that. You have to do the best you can, but the best you can will be enough. Now it'll be 4:00 in the morning. My phone rings. It's usually my youngest son, Ashton. Not because something's wrong, because we're both up, because we're already moving and we're already going to work. And he knows this. It's not a coincidence, and it's not a standard. This is not something that everybody has to do. But this is what happens when you stop talking about what the right thing to do is and you start honestly living it. He still struggles. All of my boys still struggle from time to time, all with different things. But that baseline, that knowing that even if we had a disagreement the day before, that love and compassion is still there. It's kind of like that scene from Yellowstone where the two of them are fighting and they're like, yeah, well, you fuck you this and fuck you that. Okay, well, I'll see you at home later for dinner. Yeah, I love you. Fuck you, but I love you. It's that same thing. That underlying love and stability does not get threatened because of disagreement and because of pressure. It's always there. Here's what prompted this, in addition to a million other things. But he called me the other day, or text, I don't remember what it was, and said, I'm working every day and nothing's working. I'm trying everything, and I still feel like I'm further behind than I ever was. And this was in response to his hours getting cut, or maybe adjusting his budget, or I don't know for sure, probably a little bit of everything. I'm done. That's what he said, I'm done. And I responded in my typical, hey, it's time to level up. Let's go. Let's do what we need to do. And he pushed back and said, don't answer like that. Quit telling me that. Quit talking like that. Well, one, that was pissed me off, because you don't get to tell me, nobody gets to tell me how to talk, period. Or that I'm doing something wrong because I'm trying to help you because you reached out to me to help. So yeah, I got kind of pissed at that, and I let him have it with both barrels at that point. But again, I never stopped loving him. I never stopped caring about him, and I was hurting that he was hurting and he was this frustrated. And I wanted to step in and show him how to solve his problem that he's doing without telling him all the different options. Just show him this is the best path. But my best path is not his best path. And so I gave him some truth, and I gave it to him harshly, and I gave it to him aggressively. And then I let him cook, to use a better term. That's a term applies perfectly. And God, that was miserable. It was miserable for me. I wanted to reach out to him. I wanted to tell him everything was going to be okay, and tell him that I love him and that it will get better and that this is just temporary and I've seen it before and it's okay and he'll figure it out and he's smart enough, and tell him everywhere that I see him win. And it would have taught him nothing except to be more resentful and to show him that I thought he was incapable of solving his own problems without me stepping in and telling him the way to do it. And that would have made me a terrible father, even though I was in hell, because I knew what he was going to have felt those feelings. To be able to step back and let your children suffer in a way that teaches them and in a way that you know exactly how they feel is the hardest thing you will ever do as a parent. And yet it is the one thing that is totally necessary to show them that you believe in them and that you know that they are capable of solving these problems on their own and taking care of their problems and their BS on their own. And you know what happened the second I gave him that truth? He pushed back. He got even more frustrated. He got even more pissed off at me. This is the same thing that most grown men do. We're all walking around with our egos on our shoulders and don't you piss me off. Don't you disrespect me. Don't you do this, to the point where we don't listen to some things that piss us off just because they piss us off. And sometimes when we get pissed off, especially by people that care about us, it's because we're lacking in something or because we didn't want to hear the truth that they had to tell us. Don't be that guy. So every time you push your child, every time you push your son, every time you expect your son to step up to the plate and be the man he was born to be, you have a decision to make. Do you protect his feelings or do you prepare him for reality? Because those two are not the same thing, and they cannot exist simultaneously in the same space without diluting each other. You have to believe in your young men enough to give them the freedom to solve their own problems. You have to have enough self-control that while you're in hell watching them struggle and move through this and thinking they're pissed at you and that they might not want to talk to you again because all of this shit will go through your head and these demons will come and attack you, while you're watching them grow, while you are giving them the space they need in safety to do what they need to do and figure the problems out. And you know what? They may not come up with a solution that you think is right. That does not matter one bit. They came up with it on their own. They implement it on their own. They can redirect down the road if they want to, and they probably will if it was the wrong thing to do. not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to give them the tools and the space to grow into the man that they need to be. Because again, remember, you're not always going to be here. Dad won't always be there for advice. Dad won't always be there to step in and take care of things. My sons have reached the point where they fix their vehicles together. Dad's always done it with them. And now I'll get requests to borrow tools, or, hey, Dad, what do you think about this? Or can you come and look at this? I'm not sure what's wrong with it. But then they reach out to each other, they work together, and they solve problems together. And I'm proud of them for that. And I look at that as them learning how to solve those problems without always having me have to step in and solve it for them. Are there problems that you probably need to step in and solve from time to time? I don't know. I believe there are some. If there's some that could be causing bodily harm, if your children are going hungry, I don't like my children to go hungry. So that's not a thing. I don't want them to go hungry. I always feed them. Doesn't mean I'm going to give them money for food if they're making bad choices, you know what? But there's always be a sandwich at our house so you're not hungry. Some things I can't tolerate. But that doesn't mean that I solve those problems for them. They have to solve them for themselves. So I had to tell him. I had to tell him straight. So, your life's not over at 20. You're not trying everything. You haven't tried everything. It's a very easy generalization to that. You're just living in the world that's comfortable. You've tried all the stuff that's comfortable, and you haven't tried the stuff that's hard much. You're just kind of throwing some stuff at it. But you're not stuck. You're avoiding the larger things that actually force growth because they may be more uncomfortable than the reality that you're living now, or they're really uncomfortable because you've never done it before and you don't understand. And no matter what you think, this is not the hardest that life is ever going to get. Not even close. There is so much more to come that these choices will prepare your young men for. And you know what, fathers, I may be speaking directly to you, because the ironic thing about this is that all of us that are dads and fathers, we're all sons as well. And we may need these lessons for ourselves as much as we need to teach our sons that. But here's the thing, as you get older, life never gets any easier. You never get less busy. You never get less tired. It gets much heavier. And if you give up now, when you're in your prime, you're not prepared and you're not built for what's next. It's our job as your father to help you grow into that person that you need to be, to build yourself into that man that can handle these things, handle no matter what comes up. So we don't let you give up. We don't let you fold. We don't let you lay down and cry about it. We don't let you quit. We don't let you off the hook. We don't let you have this, because it never ends well, and it won't end well. And this is not me being harsh. This is me refusing to lie to my sons and to lie to myself. Let me say something that a lot of you need to hear. Your children's feelings and feelings about you or about this situation are not more important than their future. And if that bothers you, good, because it should. You can't let them run their life by their feelings, because, again, life doesn't give a rip how we feel about something. It punishes you first and doesn't give a shit if you learn from it or not. It punishes you. And if you learn a lesson, you have to figure out what that lesson is so that it doesn't punish you again. Because if you don't learn that lesson, life's going to punish you over and over and over again. Look, I'm not perfect at this. Pushback from my boys still gets me. I value my family. I value Des. I value the children. I value the grandkids above all else. There is nothing more important to me in my life than these human beings that have been responsible, or that I've been responsible for my entire life, or my entire adult life. Nothing. So pushback from the kids still gets to me. And there are moments that I hesitate, moments that I think, my God, am I pushing too hard? If I push too hard on this, I might lose them. And that choice is seemingly impossible. And I think that exact phrase, it's an impossible choice. At that time, I might lose them. But the only way to push them hard enough so they'll learn the lesson that they need now and for the future is to push them to the point where you might lose them. And you have to determine that line. And the only way to figure that out is to communicate with them. But if you give in to that, and you give in to that feeling, you'll soften when you shouldn't, and you absolutely will lose them. Maybe not right then, but that will start a spiral that you do not want to go down. So here's the line that I hold. I will push my sons until they get the point, even if they get pissed at me. I would say especially if they get pissed at me, but I don't really like them to get pissed at me, but it happens whenever you're pushing them. And when you're pushing men and you've raised strong-willed men, they're going to get pissed at you because they don't like to be told what to do, especially when they know you're right. But I will never push past the point where they feel alone, where they feel abandoned, where they feel helpless, where they feel like they're not loved. And that's the difference. And that's what we have to do as fathers, is true leadership, and not just a voice, not just saying it, but we have to live it, and we have to show them that this is what we're doing. And what I was actually teaching him in that moment was very, very simple, is to quit giving up on yourself. If your situation sucks, quit focusing on the things you can't control. Find the things you can, take control of them, and change your life. Change your situation. You don't change your life by flipping a switch and turning the lights on. You change your life by taking control of one small thing at a time, every single minute of every single day. It's 1,000 different decisions to make your life better than what it is right now, especially if it's hard and feels like it's falling apart. But you have to stop laying down every time life gets hard and let the steamroller roll over you. You have to stand up, stop the bleeding, and move forward. I've got a ton of relevant stories to this. We all have, but I want you to think back at a time when you actually found the guts to stand up for yourself, to fight a situation, and came out on the winning side. And I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to think about that for a minute. And I want you to feel how that feels. I want you to re-experience that level of winning and how good you felt at that time. And this is where this gets bigger than just a single moment. We have way too many fathers out there right now that are just trying to be liked. They're trying to avoid conflict. They're trying to keep the peace at home. And what they're actually doing is they're raising sons who can't handle the pressure of life. They can't take correction, and they need constant validation just to function. And as soon as they don't receive any of those, they turn into whiny little bitches that can't function in real society, let alone lead and father the children that need them and that they brought into this world. That's what you're creating by backing down. If you remove pressure from your children's life, life is going to reintroduce it to them with a vengeance later, and it will not be gentle. Because now, not only are they not prepared for it, but they think that if they push back against it just a little bit, the pressure goes away, because that's what you taught them by backing down every single time they pushed you. You are either preparing your young men for life or you are protecting them. And you don't get to protect them forever. There is a place where you need to protect these young men so they can grow safely, so they can fail forward, so they can figure life out while you're there to take the really big arrows, and you're there to make sure that they don't get hurt during that learning phase. But there comes a point where they stand beside you and they move forward with you, and then they move forward on their own, because now they're the father, they're the leader, they're the protector. But if you don't give them the tools to do that, they'll never be that. They'll always be the victim. They'll always be that pathetic loser who lays down and doesn't give their children somebody to look up to. And so their children now have a repeat on this cycle of broken family, broken emotions, broken fatherhood, broken spirit. This is your responsibility as a father to ensure that this does not happen, and it starts now. And you know, if you've already screwed up and your children are already adults, I guarantee you need to have a really uncomfortable conversation with them, because it's never too late. They may be adults now, but you know what? They'll still look for that connection. It may be different, but you need to reach out. And dads, I want you to hear this. If you're avoiding having hard conversations because you don't want conflict with your sons, you are not protecting them. You're protecting yourself. And the pathway that you're teaching them to walk down is the one you're on right now. You can allow your sons to grow up to be less than what you are. They are supposed to be the best of you, not the least of you. And I hate to tell you guys this, but the world your sons are walking into does not care about their feelings. And it's not the same one that you were raised in. You have to prepare them for a future that's totally unknown to both of you. So you have to literally prepare them for everything and not know anything about it. And that's okay, because every bit of this is going to test them. It's going to pressure these young men. It's going to put every piece of agony that it can come up with and throw it in their face. And if they're not prepared to deal with it, that it will expose every weakness that you chose to ignore because you were too lazy to get up off the couch and go out there and be a man and show them how. One day you won't be here. You don't get to do it tomorrow. And nobody's coming to help them, and nobody's coming to adjust life for them, and nobody's coming to fix things for them. That's the life you're preparing them for if you don't do this now. Dads, you stand up. You fix it. You need to lead by example. You don't need to be giving them speeches. You don't need to be giving them advice. Examples. Direct, honest examples. You get up early. You do the work. You control your emotions. Hold your standards, because they're not only learning from you when you teach them, they're watching every single thing you do and learning from that. And it's not just your sons. It's that little boy in the single mother household down the road. It's the little boy whose dad's a drunk and is never around. Those men are watching you too, and they're learning from you remotely. Every single thing you do is under a microscope, whether you like it or not. And they're going to repeat not what you say, they're going to repeat what you do. And if you don't know what to do about this, or you already feel like you're so far gone and you're lost and you're helpless, well, you know what? Good. Now you know that you have a problem. Go find men who do know what to do. Go find men who are being successful at it and ask them to start leading you and teaching you. You can put messages in the comments. You can message me if you want. I've got a ton of guys around me and a ton of guys in my life that have this exact same attitude, and we'll all be willing to help guide young fathers out there. You need to get into rooms where the standards is higher, where you're forced to grow so that you can be the leader that these men need, that these young men need, that your sons need. That means you need to be learning by doing, by reading. You need to be adjusting constantly, becoming a better man, becoming the person that you would want your boys to look up to, and you have to apply this every single day. And when it ends, don't just nod your head and move on. Don't just look at them and go, well, I hope they figured it out. You need to have the conversations you've been avoiding with them. I know I'm repeating that, but this is absolutely important. Sit down and talk to your sons. Find out what's important to them. Find out what they're struggling with. Tell them what you're struggling with. You don't wait to do this. You do this today, not next week, not next month. Do this today. And then if your son doesn't want to talk to you, it's even more important to have this conversation, because you're missing out on a lot, and you've already lost a piece of that young man that you need to reclaim desperately. You can raise your son to be comfortable, or you can raise your son to be capable. The choice is yours. Love y'all.